All right, hello again, everybody, and welcome. It is the Patrick Johnson Show as we get ready for Pirate baseball tonight. The number 12 team in the land will travel to NC State on the way, and they're number 18 in the latest poll. Intriguing match tonight from the Doak as these two meet in Raleigh for the first time this year. We'll have coverage for you on the radio with an airtime for the pregame in 45 minutes. With Scott Rogers and Gary Overton on the call. We will be bringing that one, and it should be a heck of a game tonight. Aaron Groller, the left-hander with the 1-0 record, 4.91 ERA, going to come out, as Coach Godwin told us last night on Inside Pirate Athletics, with that reliever's mentality, give him what he can for one, maybe two, and then they'll be passing the baseball. It'll be Ryan Morone, Freudian slip, Morone, another lefty, starting for the Pack. Now, he has got a couple wins this year and has a 4.63 ERA. Pack are 18-7 coming in, and they have won 6 of their last 7. They got a series win over Duke. They swept Notre Dame. Time out. One of a familiar face is leading them in hitting. I'm not talking about AMAC. I'm talking about the Wichita State transfer, Garrett Pennington. 386 batting average. Of course, the former Pirate infielder, Makarevich, AMAC, hitting 350. 31 runs, 11 doubles, 11 home runs, 40 runs driven in. The Pack bat, 305 as a team. Their ERA has been a little high, 6.5. 228 strikeouts, 124 walks for their staff in 211 and 2/3 innings. Let's do a Pirate report. We'll get to some audio on this as we get ready to talk Pirate baseball with you here on the Patrick Johnson Show. Hit it in 3, 2, and 1.
And now, Patrick Johnson with today's Pirate Report on the flagship station of the ECU Pirates, 94.3 The Game.
All right, Pilk. Let's start with the comments from Coach Godwin as it pertains to AMAC. We asked him this on our interview we do where we go inside the Pirate Clubhouse with Coach Godwin. Stephen Nygo and myself do every Monday. This is what Coach Godwin had to say about facing off against the former Pirate AMAC.
And look, yeah. I just want to say this, and I want everybody to hear it. I don't have any ill will towards AMAC. I'm glad he's having a great year.
I got the full cut here. Let me play it for you in its entirety right now.
I don't have any ill will towards AMAC. I'm glad he's having a great year. I probably would have handled some things a little bit differently back in the fall. What I would say is I gave him everything I had, every ounce of energy I had, and it was hurt when he left, but it looks like he made the right decision. He has played more freely, so I did hold him back. That was not my intention. So, I want to win the game, but I have no ill will towards AMAC, but we still want to win the game.
I thought that was a candid response from Coach Godwin, and I do think there's still some hard feelings. Might be a little harsh. I mean, there's no vitriol there. That's probably what's too harsh. But I do think there is maybe some hurt feelings about maybe how all that kind of went down. And I appreciate Coach Godwin's candor when he spoke with us yesterday about it, and I appreciate his candor last night when Stephen asked it on the coach's show. A couple other things from the show, and Pilk, tell me if there's more, but I've got the 3 cuts here. And one of the things that is talked about is the Mustache March. Here's what Coach Godwin had to say about those fundraising efforts.
Yeah, it's been great. We've still got money coming in. I appreciate everybody that's just donated, that's continued to push it socially, social media wise. I definitely think we'll get to our 10,000 mark.
Also, you have, and they feel like they're going to get close to 100,000. Probably won't surpass it this year, but next year. The doubleheader with UAB. part of the sweep, Coach Godwin, on playing 2 on Friday.
Yeah, for sure. And it's really hard to win college baseball games. It's really, really, really hard to win both games of a doubleheader. And I thought we did some good things. Of course, the pitching was really good. I mean, to play a doubleheader and throw 4 pitchers, I don't know if we've ever done that in my coaching career at East Carolina. We only used 7 on the weekend, which there's going to be a lot of guys that have to pitch tomorrow night, so that works out well.
Yep, and that is part of Groller's task tonight, is to come out and kind of empty the tank, at least in an inning's worth of work. And it'll be a Johnny Holstaff kind of night for the Pirates. And that bullpen has been fabulous. Over the last couple of weeks, an ERA of just over 2, 8 earned runs surrendered by the pen in the last 35 and 2/3 innings of work. The pitching staff as a whole, during the first part of the season, 2nd nationally in WHIP, 4th in earned run average at 349, 6th in fewest hits allowed per 9 innings, just over 7, and 9th in fewest allowed per 9 innings, 3.1. Lunsford Chinkman, the way, obviously, out of the pen, ERA of sub 1, and 7th in strikeout nationally at 15 and 0.75 per 9. That ERA number, which is near spotless, ranks him 4th in the country. Pirates, as a group, are batting .299. Have at least 5 of their regulars that are batting .314 or better. Carter Cunningham continues to lead the team in batting. Not that he's cooled necessarily, but he's not off to quite the torrid start that he was. How could he maintain that? But he's close to 400, has 6 home runs, and leads the American in RBI with 30. Also is 2nd in the conference in batting average and on-base percentage and slugging percentage. Pirates, of course, will play at Florida Atlantic and then play 18 of their final 25 regular season games at home. So after this 4-game road week, it will be more games at the friendly confines. Pirates, of course, got the good start last week. Nothing deficit. And this is what Coach Godwin say about that.
Yeah, super proud of our guys. Started out down 4-0, had a great crowd. So, of course, the crowd's like probably scared to death and sitting on their hands. And I thought that, Chad's getting a big swing off a 2-run homer in that 2nd inning, got the crowd back into it. And then our bullpen was phenomenal, and our offense just kept chipping away. And then finally, we scored 7 runs, and our bullpen just said, hey, you're not going to get any more runs, which is awesome. And it was a great crowd and a great way to start the week.
We had Danny Bill, Joey Barini, and Cam Clonch on the show last night. Great stuff from those guys. Beal, I guess the word Friday was that he had some arm soreness. Told Stephen and I last night in the break that he was fine. I think you'll see Chris Kaler factor into this out of the pen tonight. The idea is to try to maybe get it to the end of the thing where maybe Beal and Lunsford Chinkman can take things over. So we'll see. 6 o'clock, first pitch from Doak Field as the Pirates take on the Wolfpack in the first of a couple meetings this year. And I think it's going to be a night where AMAC is going to be fired up. Can he control the emotions? And can he continue to hit in the groove that he is hit in? And I'm not saying necessarily hit a home run, he'd love to, but can he continue to be the productive offensive player that he has been? His defense, maybe not as airtight as it was last season. He's had some errors early, but he's more than making what he's doing. So, I think the Pirates, at least statistically, their pitching staff. So we'll see. That's I don't want to say a weakness, but that's an area where NC State maybe is not quite as strong. I think offensive, you could at least make the argument so far through the first half of the season, statistically speaking, that the Pack have been a little more solid than the Pirates. The other part of this is it's going to be a perfect weather. It's going to be warm. I don't think there's any wind blowing in. We'll get an update on that, I'm sure, from Scooter and Coach O coming up later in the hour when they go on with the pregame. But they put a nice adjustment on the weekend to hit the ball on the ground. rather than try to drive it out of the park into the teeth of the wind that was coming out of the north. They worked towards, trying to find holes and, change their approach and how they hit the ball. I also, as Philip the Ref Pilkington is producing here, I know Cliff, the suicide squeeze that led to a couple runs. Wouldn't you want to do that here? Is this a good spot to maybe do this tonight, especially if you get runners early in the game?
I think it's a great spot. You just got to execute. They're 2 for 2 this year, which is great. The only problem is they're 2 for 2 on film this year. So a team like NC State, very disciplined, plays very high-level baseball every weekend in the ACC. They're going to be a little smarter to it. But to your point, Patrick, if you can execute it, that could be an early gut punch for the Pirates on to the Wolfpack.
Yeah, and I know the Pirates are going to be fired anyway. It'll be interesting to see how fired. All right. Speaking of NC State, Final Four run for them. Wes Durham joined us earlier this morning on Talk of the Town, so we're going to have an encore presentation of that coming up in just a bit. That'll do it for the Pirate Report. We'll have some more ECU thoughts for you later on in the hour. But right now, a timeout, and we'll come back with Wes Durham, voice of the ACC, joining us earlier today on TOT.
It's time to get more in 24 at Greenville Toyota. More savings, more selection, more for your trade. Get new Camrys $269 a month or new RAV4s $299 a month. Save big and get more in 24 at Greenville Toyota.
Acre Station Meat Farm, along with Lane Angus Beef, bring you farm to fork beef.
Stock your freezers now with affordable beef boxes just in time for the grilling season.
Farm to fork beef brings quality local beef to your family. From your traditional butcher shop, Acre Station Meat Farm. Come on down to Acre Station Meat Farm and find out why we're #1 in fresh cuts and friendly service.
Acre Station Meat Farm, Highway 32 North, Pinetown.
Other restaurants claim their food is fresh and fast, but are they friendly? At Moore's, you're treated like family the minute you walk into their doors. With locations in Winterville, New Bern, Swansboro, Morehead City, and Jacksonville. We've been practicing what we preach since 1945. At Moore's, our barbecue is slow cooked and smoked over real wood daily until it's so tender it's falling off the bone. Combined with our fresh chicken, cooked to order seafood, and homemade fixins, we're sure you'll agree. If it's not Moore's, it's less.
You know what the problem is with standard belts? Usually you have to choose between too tight or the opposite, too loose. But with Anson Belt and Buckle, you don't have to choose. We got rid of the holes and instead have a track system designed for micro adjustability. That way you can enjoy a perfect fit every time. Anson Belt and Buckle. Find your perfect fit today.
Hey, grab me one too.
When a place is as special as this, you don't want to change a thing. You simply want to enjoy it, just as it is. That was our inspiration behind Bow Coast West, our newest community in Beaufort, North Carolina. Embrace all that we love about this very special place and make it easy for families to enjoy all that this coastal lifestyle has to offer. Be inspired. Bow Coast West.
Get more in 24 at Greenville Toyota. Get more savings on our huge Toyota selection. Shop new Corollas just $239 a month or new Tundras with 3.99% financing. Get more for your trade. Save big and get more in 24 at Greenville Toyota.
We have you covered with all the ECU news and beyond that you need for the drive home. The Patrick Johnson Show on 94.3 The Game.
All right, the NC State Wolfpack are going to the Final Four. Of course, the Pirates and the Pack playing on the diamond tonight. It'll be Purdue and NC State at 6:09 Saturday from Glendale, Arizona. The second game to follow between Alabama and UConn. Let me find my Alabama thing here. Pilk, here we go.
Alabama!
There it is. All right. West Durham, voice of the ACC, on to talk about the NC State Pack with us this morning, and the legendary Legend Award-winning Hall of Famer Henry Hinton about the special that was filmed last summer that aired recently on the ACC network, or is airing on the ACC network and debuted recently, and that is the conversation between Coach Roy Williams. So Wes, about how all of that came here, and then we'll hear him pack.
Oh, golly. Very organic process. I was contacted February a year ago. You remember Rob Goodman, who was a sports anchor in Greensboro,
yeah.
who now is in the sports marketing business. And Rob's a friend. We work together on the NSMA board. And Rob said, hey, Mac Morris, the old basketball coach at Page High School, wants to talk to you. And I said, well, that'd be great. I knew him when I was a kid, that kind of thing. And remember, he had great players, of course. Danny Manning was probably the best basketball player he ever had at Page. But Mac and contacted me and said, Wes, he and Phil Weaver, who were the basketball coach at Grimsley in Greensboro, they run what they call the North Carolina Coaches Association. And their 75th anniversary of their coaches clinic was this past summer. And they had arranged for Mike Krzyzewski and Roy Williams to be part of it. And rather than stand up and lecture and have this conversation, Mike and Roy wanted to have, rather than do whiteboard and draw out-of-bounds plays and stuff, they wanted to have somebody ask questions. And Mac said that Coach K and Roy had both suggested me, and which I was just completely flattered to hear and humbled to hear. And so I agreed to do it. It was on July the 17th. And then the back end of it, about 3 weeks after we kind of worked all the parameters out, Mac calls and says, hey, do you think anybody would want to televise this? And I said,
Heck yeah.
Do I think they would? No, I don't think they would. I know they would.
Yeah, exactly.
And he said, well, can you help us? And I said, sure. So I contacted the projects people with ESPN and the ACC network and told them kind of what was happening. And next thing you know, we had a committee, not a committee, it's a joke. I always like to say we have committees. We had a group together, and next thing you know, we worked it out and televised it. Raycom Sports was involved, Rob Reichley. The real star of the deal is Jordan Smith, who is our producer. He did a phenomenal job taking a 1 hour and 28-minute conversation and condensing it down into 49 minutes, 51 minutes basically, start to finish without commercials. And Roy and Mike were terrific, but it was a real team effort across the board. The coaches, very comfortable with it. I think people will enjoy it. The thing that I think some people thought they were going to get that they don't get is, we didn't dig into specific games. We talk about Duke, Carolina, but you're doing this for 4,000 coaches, Henry, right, who were in attendance at this clinic. And we're doing it in front of a lower bowl at the Greensboro Coliseum. So it's a lot of leadership stuff. It's about building programs. But I think Carolina and Duke fans alike, and anybody who, enjoys sports or enjoyed watching these two teams play, will get some benefit out of it and learn something they didn't know. And then their path in particular to being coaches, I think, is really revealing in the 1 hour deal.
Well, everybody assumes that Roy Williams and Mike Krzyzewski, don't like each other. But
yeah.
I can tell you from my days working radio in the ACC that Dean Smith was very guarded. And he you know how he was. You knew him as well as I did. And he wasn't going to let anybody get too close to him. But somehow Valvano broke through that with Dean.
That's correct. Yeah, Valvano and Crimmins, they're responsible.
That's exactly right. And so all of a sudden, Krzyzewski and Valvano and Dean Smith are having cookouts.
Oh,
and people don't know that. I remember that conversation with Coach Smith one time. And
well, you knew my dad and Coach Valvano were close.
Right.
Jim first came to Raleigh.
I got to know Jim Valvano through Woody, of course, and we We had a great relationship with Valvano. He was just a great guy. But those guys, look, they want to beat each other's brains out. But when when the season's over, there's some camaraderie that exists, even though they're still recruiting against each other and stuff. They have, I think it's born out of respect. I will say I was in the media room the night that Krzyzewski gave the double standard speech.
Oh yeah,
that set off a firestorm with Dean and all that. But to be honest with you, I thought he was right.
Yeah,
I was on the Tar Heel Sports Network, so I couldn't say that. But I watched that game that night, and I can tell you there was a young official in Cameron that night that Dean just absolutely intimidated, and he got every call in that game.
Right.
And it made Krzyzewski mad, and he called it out during his press conference. I don't blame him.
Sure. And at the end, it was. I think one of the things we do talk about in the piece is Coach K's relationship with Dean Smith at the end of Coach Smith's life,
right?
And what that meant to Mike. The eerie part for me was having watched Coach Smith's career, as a kid, and then obviously in the early years of Georgia Tech before he retired, and then watching Coach K's career wind down. How eerily similar a lot of the things Coach Smith did toward the end of his career, Coach K did. And you remember the running joke when Coach Smith retired. It was Dave Droshak, who's a terrific writer, used to write for the AP. Said that Coach Smith started wearing brown toward the end of his career because he was getting ready to pass Adolph Rupp, and Adolph Rupp used to wear brown suits, right? And Coach Smith used to wear those Countess Mara ties all the time, right?
Yeah.
And Krzyzewski came out at the end of his career with all these ties, and I referenced it to David Teal, who writes in Richmond now, and Gowdy and some of those guys who've been on the beat a long time in the ACC. I looked at K one night at the ACC tournament toward the end of his career. I go, damn, is that a Countess Mara tie he's wearing? I mean, what are we doing here? But yeah, it's an amazing parallel between Duke and Carolina. And obviously, here in the last 3 weeks, NC State's wanted their say on the road too, and it's been kind of fun.
Let's talk about NC State. One final comment though about the whole double standard thing. I thought it was interesting to see that we lived long enough to see Krzyzewski was the double standard. Because he was getting the calls, and he was the dean of the ACC at that point. All right, back to what's happening now. NC State.
Yep.
Unbelievable story. I mean, every now and then the NCAA tournament spurns one of these great stories. I read the other day that that we should not call this a Cinderella story because it's not. Because NC State was good all year, they just lost a bunch of close games, but. The reality is that, they've won 9 in a row, and I don't know if I've ever seen anything like it. It does remind me a lot of 83.
Yeah, it does. It's got a lot of feel of the 83 run. But the 83 run, it's interesting. Tim Peeler yesterday on our Sirius XM show was talking about the 83 team was in the NCAA tournament before they beat Virginia in the championship game at the Omni in Atlanta. They were in probably after they beat Carolina in the semifinals, to be honest. And then they staved off death like 3 times before they ever got to Albuquerque, right? So that was the incentive and kind of the fire that burned the Valvano team for the survive and advance concept. And look, I think Kevin Keats knew he had to beat Louisville and then probably win the tournament to get in the NCAA tournament. I think the fascinating part for this Wolfpack team is that it shows you in today's landscape of college basketball that sometimes teams do continue to evolve over the course of the season. And some teams, and I would equate a little bit of Florida Atlantic to this, Henry, from last year or so. I think that it is capable that you play your best basketball late, because I've had more than fair share of coaches tell me that in today's college basketball, you start your season and it's going to take 10 to 12 games before you know what you have, because of all the portal and the transitional pieces that are in place now.
Yeah.
That's not the case it was in 83. Certainly wasn't the case it was, even 10 years ago. But now with so much, we've got 1,100 players in the portal right now in college basketball. 1,100. And
it's insane.
So I think NC State is probably a really good example of a team that found itself in Washington. Down 1 to Louisville at the half. And I'm sitting there doing the game thinking to myself, they cannot possibly lose this game. Louisville had shot 64% in the first half. It was their best half shooting of the year. And NC State came back to win. But the reality of it was then they had to beat Syracuse. then they had to beat Duke, then they had to beat Virginia, and so on and so forth.
And they got,
by the time they got,
talk about staving off death. They had to hit the 3-pointer against Virginia, or it was over.
Well, and you know that anytime something like this happens, there is a play that does it.
Yep.
That sparks everything else, and that's what happened when O'Connell hit that three to get the game to overtime in Washington.
Well, that's what your interview with Roy and Krzyzewski was, right? They talked about one play, right?
One play, yeah. And it's funny. I've had a couple people refer to the same thing here in the last couple of weeks. NC State's found the one play, and it was O'Connell's three. And I said, yeah, in that case, it probably is.
Yeah.
So,
well, tell me this.
It's a hell of a story for those guys and great for Kevin. I think Kevin's done a really good job there. I know a lot of people probably were out on him, toward the end of this year, but it's not easy to do this anymore. It's not. This is a complicated process,
right.
and it happens in a myriad of different ways.
What do you think about the Purdue game? Can the beer truck DJ Burns contain the 7'4" monster in there for Purdue?
Well, I hate to say this because Brian Kersey and I are longtime friends, but I oftentimes look at him and go, I know this is not your game, so I can tell you this. It's going to depend on how it was officiated. Bottom line.
Yeah.
Edey I will say this, Edey throws a tent in the lane now. He stands in there longer than Wilt Chamberlain ever thought about. It's going to be really interesting to see how NC State attacks Purdue because NC State pressures you, they don't press you. And I think that Purdue is a little uncomfortable when the tempo gets picked up. But the Painter, Kevin Keats matchup from a X's and O's standpoint and the Edey Burns thing will be really good leads to what I think will be a terrific game. And I think the other game will be terrific too, to be honest with you. I think UConn, Alabama, UConn is a demo team now. I mean, 30-0 run on a squad that's got 13 scholarship players.
Unbelievable.
You never see that, Henry. And so
no, not especially the final eight.
Yeah, we'll see how it goes. But I think it'll be interesting and fun to watch NC State and see if they can keep the magic. And I'm thrilled for our colleague Gary Hahn that 34 years of doing the Wolfpack. And you remember when he replaced the legendary Wally Osler.
Oh yeah.
For Gary to be able to go out like this on a run to Phoenix in the Final Four certainly is a blessing for him.
Good for him. Wes Durham, great talking to you, man. As always, thanks for doing this.
Okay, Henry, take care.
One of the best, Wes Durham there. Fascinating stuff for me, Pilk, to listen to Wes kind of break down how everything was going. I think O'Connell's been the key to the Wolfpack. I mean, ever since he's been inserted into the lineup, they have a true point guard, somebody who is not looking his own shot, and that has made else better. Plus, they're really guarding right now. I think if anybody can give Edey a little bit of trouble, it could be DJ Burns. So we'll see. And you could make the argument that the Wolfpack guards are better right now than the Purdue guards. I mean, Edey's the best player on the floor in that game. I also think Wes is I was talking to Mole last night coming back from the coaches show. If the game were not in a dome, you'd really feel good about Alabama's chances to shoot the three-point shot and make the shot. But you know what he was telling Milk? Since the dome era began, you know what they shoot in the Final Four, all the teams, from three?
I don't know. It's got to be bad because I know that's why they moved
30%.
Yeah, that's why they were doing the Elite Eight and the Sweet 16 in the big domes there for a handful of years, and they're like, yeah, maybe this isn't the best idea. They moved them back to normal arenas.
So, but if Bama can get hot, you don't ever know. You don't ever know. I think odds are it's going to be UConn and Purdue, and I think whoever's playing UConn, with the exception of maybe Alabama's going to. And Alabama may lose by 20, but I think UConn could really steamroll Purdue. Be interesting. We'll see. All right. Pilk's got a 94.3 The Game sports update and a Pirate report. We'll come back, talk a little bit about Pirate basketball, some news that Pilk is going to reiterate and share with about the transfer portal. But anyway, the Pirates and the Wolfpack. We're getting you ready for that coming up tonight. So, Philip Pilkington with the 94.3 The Game, and then we'll wrap things up here with some notes on the PJ Show. Pilk.
Thank you, P-Man. Starting in Pirate Athletics, it's game day for the East Carolina baseball team as they will travel west to Raleigh to take on AMAC and the Wolfpack. Coach Godwin says he wishes his former third baseman the best.
And look, I just want to say this, and I want everybody to hear it. I don't have any ill will towards AMAC. I'm glad he's having a great year.
Stay tuned for that broadcast right after our show, as network coverage will begin at 5:45 for that just after 6 o'clock pitch with Scott Rogers and Coach Gary Overton. As Patrick mentioned, some new faces in the portal in Pirate basketball, including big man Ezra Asar. He entered late yesterday. And moving on from Pirate Athletics to Major League Baseball, where last night Astros pitcher Ronel Blanco threw the 17th no-hitter in club history in a 10-0 win over the Toronto Blue Jays. Blanco allowed just 2 walks in an outing that saw him throw 105 pitches. Moving over to the NFL, there was some QB news that broke late after most of us were already in the bed last night. Falcons quarterback and former Panther Taylor Heineke is taking a nearly $4 million pay cut, taking his salary from roughly $6 million to $1.21 million for the upcoming season to try and remain on the Falcons as they look to potentially draft a quarterback with the number 8 pick in the upcoming NFL draft. Also, Patrick Mahomes will have a new face in his quarterback room as the Chiefs have signed a new backup, veteran Carson Wentz, to a 1-year deal. The women's Final Four is set for Friday night in Cleveland. NC State will take on South Carolina at 7 o'clock, and it will be followed shortly thereafter by UConn and Iowa. Last night, the Hawkeyes defeated LSU, who beat them in last year's tournament, as Caitlin Clark led the way with 41 points. That'll do it for your 94.3 The Game Sports Flash Update and Pirate Report. On the other side of this time out, we will be back to wrap up the Patrick Johnson Show with a little ECU Hoops Talk.
Hi, I'm D.R. Alligood.
And I'm his daughter, Jessica.
For 11 years, we have built quality driveways and parking lots for both your residential and commercial needs. We also offer free on-site quotes to have your custom driveways built the way you want.
252-946-1227.
This is about you, your family, and the health of all who live in Eastern North Carolina. This is about the transformation of a health system into something more powerful and more human, about creating new ways to treat disease and keep you well. This is about ECU Health, which is to say, it's really all about you. ECU Health. Minds, hearts, purpose.
Fifth Street Hardware is the home of the $9 lunch special Tuesday through Fridays. $9 specials every day, including the famous Burger Day on Tuesdays, Flatbread Pizza Wednesday, the famous Fifth Street Hardware Reuben on Thursday, and fried fish or shrimp on Friday. Plus trivia on Wednesday nights and live music every Thursday nights. And the Prime Rib Brunch Buffet has returned on Sundays. You heard that right. The Brunch Buffet with all the great items, including prime rib. Fifth Street Hardware in downtown Greenville.
Your confidence makes everything look good. You see the world in vivid color, not black and white. Swing through your neighborhood Fantastic Sam's Cut in color. and let our experienced stylists take you from everyday to extraordinary.
Fantastic Sam's hair salons are locally owned and operated. Our full-service salons are conveniently located in Goldsboro, Kinston, Greenville, New Bern, Jacksonville, and Calabash. Stop in today at Fantastic Sam's, where the possibilities are endless.
Hi, I'm D.R. Alligood.
And I'm his daughter, Jessica.
For 11 years, we have built quality driveways and parking lots for both your residential and commercial needs. We also offer free on-site quotes to have your custom driveways built the way you want.
252-946-1227.
And now, the stunning conclusion of the show. It's the P-Man here on 94.3 The Game.
So, 8 scholarship players from the Pirate basketball team are in the portal. And Ezra Azar. Ezra about 12 points, or a little over about 5 rebounds last year. And for Azar, I think it was maybe a little crossed. I don't know. It was not a great year. We had some momentary signs, including in the win in the tournament over Tulsa, in the conference tournament over Tulsa. I mean, at a extra double. And that made, boy, if Ezra Azar played like that night in and night out, he would conference selection alongside R.J. Felton, because he was just that good. Game, and that's what was the frustrating part about it. I think Ezra was engaged. I don't think it was an attitude problem. I don't know how committed to playing defense Ezra is, and I think there is a little bit of he bought the high freshman year, the offseason, playing in leagues, bought the hype. He's going to the portal, and somebody's going to take a chance on him. Now, I don't know where that levels off at, because he is a freak athlete in his speed and to a degree in his quickness. He's almost too quick sometimes with the basketball. He's not a great leaper in the vertical or stretch of the imagination, but he's somebody that can get. He's just maybe got to get a little stronger and a little more determined to reality, let's just say. So I'm kind of anxious to see where he landed. I think this is just the day and age. I talked a lot about this just because of the, herky-jerky nature of the schedule this time of year, show and the things you got to do on certain days. But to me, it was one of those things where I think, he could play at the American level, and I think there's he could play, maybe for a mid-tier team at a so-called P5 level, Big East level. I don't know, but he's got to adapt his game, and he's going to have to play his ass off. And I just that wasn't the MO for Ezra, to be honest, here in at times this season. Val Pinedo got into the portal. I think that was expected. Great kid. I just not going to help you win. I mean, plays his heart out, but just not. You got to have better players than that off the bench. So right now you got Malonga still in there as of right now. Cam Hayes appears he's going to be back. Callum Richard, who I think is like Malonga, has a future. Now, I don't know if Richard's ever be a star, but I think he could be a guy that is a valuable minutes contributor. He can back Malonga. He can back whoever you're for, especially if he gets in the weight room and really works very, very hard in the offseason. So that's where we are. Pirates softball playing right now against Campbell. They'll be back at home this weekend against UTSA. So congratulations or good luck to the Pirates in softball tonight. Pilk, you called a state championship game for the Jaguars of Farmville Central in the boys game And then the 2A championship win for North Pitt.
Yeah.
This is correct.
Correct.
And pronounce Jones's first name. Senior, great player.
Sorry, lost you for a second. What was that?
Well, she's playing in the McDonald's All-American game. So congratulations to her, Sarah Strong, who's a fabulous center, going to be playing. It'll be tremendous. I'm happy to announce back in November she's going to play for NC State, top 20 prospect in the country. A huge year for North Pitt, and reward All-American, Donald's All-American baseball appearance tonight. All right, thanks, Rep Pilkings. Thanks to Henry Hint and Talk of the Town. We're going to have a lot more on the Patrick Johnson Show. See you in the morning town, and then we'll see you back here. Johnson Show. Go Pirates again on the Diamond. Scooter and Coach O standing by.